just your bedroom.
Good morning to a new episode of Cappuchino with Christina. As you can tell, I still am not using any filters. I'm not using makeup. The only thing I did today, I added some dinosaur Christmas earrings, and I'm not looking super great today because I accidentally shaved the side of my head. I was trying to thin it out over here, and I am not a barber. I'm not a hairstylist. I don't have a lot of experience with cutting hair. Every once in a while, I cut like a little tiny bit of my hair, like, if it's Sunday night and I'm like, get the wilder deer in my head. I cut a little bit. Sometimes I shave maybe a little tiny bit, or usually I guess there's attachments on this shaver. It's my husband's electric shaver. I abuse things that he owns. So I guess I didn't have an attachment on it, and I didn't think of it, and I'm not a professional. Dog snoring. So I shaved the side of my head accidentally. So as you can tell, I shaved the side of my head. It looked way worse, but my husband came into the bathroom, and I'm just like, I beep beep beep. I effed up my hair, and then he was like, I'll fix it. And he fixed it to the point that it looks somewhat like like a side undercut, I guess. That's what they're called. I had an undercut like 4 or 5 years ago when it was super popular. Everybody had these undercuts and the shaved areas. I had it, but it was professionally done, and this is not professional. That's not professional. So yesterday I got talking to my sister about gynecologists. I had to go see the cardiologist, and the cardiologist is the heart doctor. Everything is fine, thank God. I thought I was having some heart problems. As a type 1 diabetic, you damage organs sometimes. It's part of how the disease progresses. You get eye problems, you have nerve damage, you get heart problems, and unless you like super great at controlling your numbers, which I have not been the last 2 years, but I will be now again, since talking to the cardiologist, since experiencing some problems in my health. So we were talking about doctors who are doctors that are not very nice to go to. And of course, you have the dentist. Not that many people like to go to the dentist. I personally like my dentist. My dentist is sweet. Is a very nice guy. He's very fast. He's not, mean. Makes me makes me feel welcome. Doesn't make me feel like I'm a naughty child. Oh, I see you haven't been brushing this last tooth back here. No, it's not like that now. I always brush my teeth anyway, decently. So we were talking about doctors we absolutely like going to. And I'm like, I don't like going to the dentist, not because I don't like my dentist, but I just don't like people doing things in my mouth, and then getting that shot in your mouth when when they work on your teeth, when you have like cavities. I'm just like, I don't like it. It's yucky. And then we continued on. We're like, guess what? The second one most people don't like to go to is a gynecologist. And I'm just like, I don't like going to the gynecologist. I don't like going to the gynecologist. I had a hysterectomy like, I think 3 years ago now. Or it will be 3 years, like in April of next year. So maybe it will be 4 years actually. I think it will be 4 years in April. Oh my God. 4 years? So ever since I had my hysterectomy, like my level of going to the gynecologist, my willingness level went down. Of course, I still go because you have to have regular checkups. But now it's not, I don't have it on the calendar. I'm just like, yeah, I have to go see doctor, blah, blah, blah. Now it's more like, oh, to go to the gynecologist. I don't want to. Obviously, because I had surgery down there, and even though everything has healed, everything is fine, it's just one of those, I don't like going. I don't like going. And especially since I had some horrible gynecologist stories that kind of like implemented, is that the correct term? Like made it in my mind more like, I don't like going. My gynecologist is a wonderful lady, Dr. Schindler. I say that because that's a very like common name, and I'm pretty sure there's tons of Dr. Schindlers in this planet. She's nice, and I switched to her I think shortly after my hysterectomy or before. Uh, so yeah, I switched to her shortly after, I think. Before I went and got my hysterectomy, I went to a local doctor here within like 10 minutes of my house. I think I actually switched doctors because I used to be seen by my military doctors. My husband used to work for the military, and so I was always seeing my military doctor, which was pretty okay. And then when he switched jobs and he no longer worked for the military, I was no longer to go to the military hospital, obviously. We live in an area that's very, a lot of military people here, a lot of military folk. Even though we live in Germany, if you have people in the military, you know what area we live in. It's like the number one largest area outside of the United States. So I switched to this male doctor off base, to so to speak. And I'm like, okay, he had decent ratings online. I always check the Google ratings, and I'm like, okay, fine. Let's see. I come in there, and it's this old German man, like not old in like white hair, and he looks mature, and he looks like, oh, this looks like a wise old man. No, he was one of those greasy old mans with the he has an obvious suntan. Was he's a white German man, but he looks orange. Okay, whatever. He looked like he just, the way he presented himself, like he really was convinced that he was that, he was the shit. And I was like, fine, he's friendly enough, let's do this stuff. And they check you vaginal. Most of you guys have been to a gynecologist unless you're a man. If you are a female, you have been you probably have been. They usually do a vaginal checkup, and then they do a breast exam. So this dude, I guess there's some kind of situation going on with his daughter, and so he kept answering the cell phone. I kept being like, hold on one moment, and then he proceeded to do my breast exam. So it's like he's one hand on my breast. Okay. Let me check this. They always like go in circles around your breast, and then he goes like this, and like, hello, yes, Well, he's continuing to fondle my breast. That was already like a no go, and I'm just like, and at that time I had my daughter and my husband with me. I literally don't care. I'm like, when I go to a gynecologist, whoever wants to come can come. It doesn't matter. I'm so exposed already, and my husband has seen it. My daughter obviously is not staring at it. She's just kind of standing at the sidelines. But I think she wanted to come to just kind of see how things work at the gynecologist. She didn't want to see an in-depth look, like, oh, let me look, I want to see too. It was more like she wanted to see the process. I think she was like maybe 18, 19 at that point. Obviously, she wanted to know what is happening. But since she was not dating at that point, she didn't have a boyfriend, she didn't have any intention to get a boyfriend. She was just like, okay, I don't have to go right away. I just want to see how, what's the procedure. So then the guy talks to me, and as he's talking to me, my daughter's behind me at that point. I'm no longer in the chair. I'm like in their little talking area. Most gynecologists have talking areas. So he goes and then talks behind me while my daughter's sitting behind me. He's like, well, what about you? Have you been to a gynecologist? And I'm like, I'm trying to take the lead here because this is about my health and my hysterectomy. So, please stay on topic, dude. And I'm like, no, she hasn't been. And she also, she doesn't really date. She doesn't date yet. She hasn't found a husband or boyfriend or whatever, fiance, whatever. She's just a single Pringle and having a good time. Then he goes, while I'm sitting there, he's like, well, I once had a lady, a young lady, and she was a Muslim lady, and that lady, I had to tell her parents that she was still a virgin, but she had to hide her sex life from her parents. And yeah, I feel like this is could be something that's going on here too. And then he like proceeded to tell my daughter, if you ever have any problems, you want to talk to somebody and for real, just let me know. I got you. I take care of you. And I'm just like, dude. And I'm like telling him 3 to 4 times. I'm like, and he's like, oh yeah, I know how some Americans are. They're very conservative when it comes to sex. I'm like, I am German. I'm speaking to you in German. I am not an American. I grew up in Europe. And I think most Americans would also go to the gynecologist. I don't know where he got this weird attitude. Yes, Americans maybe are a little bit more reserved when it comes to sex and stuff, and they're teenagers having sex, but it's a cultural thing. So I'm just like, okay. I'm like, he gave me one of those little paper things for my hysterectomy to referral to another hospital, and I'm like, I'm not going to a hospital that you requested. I'm going to go to a hospital I find on my own because I don't trust your judgment. I think your judgment is terrible, terrible. 0% judgment. So that's my story number one. It's like I would put it on a scale to most horrifying gynecologist story. Story number two. I went to get my have my I guess like my talk before my hysterectomy. Because people don't let you do hysterectomies just nilly willy. Hey, I feel like having a hysterectomy. Oh, come on in, We have like 5 spots available today. Put your feet up. We're getting ready to go in a couple minutes. It doesn't work like that. You have to have different checkups. I actually had to have two surgeries. I had my hysterectomy, and before my hysterectomy, they had to go in my uterus and take like a sample out of it, and I was sleeping when they did that, and I had to have several blood tests several times. I had to be checked by a gynecologist, and then of course they had to have a conversation with me. This all wonderful conversation when there's a doctor in front of you that is just clarifying, are you really going to do this? And the doctor that had this little talk with me, which was not really a talk, with him convincing me to have more children. And I'm like, okay, I have type 1 diabetes. I'm not doing very well health wise. I had a major surgery a couple years ago. Now my entire stomach, I have a huge scar on my stomach, like from here to here, I'm cut open. I have all kinds of weird health problems. I have an autoimmune disorder. My periods are so out of control that 2 months out of the 2 weeks out of the month, I'm completely like incapable of living a normal life because I'm bleeding so much that like putting in like 5 overnight pads is, yeah, if I'm lucky, it stays clean. If I'm lucky, it stays, my underwear stays clean. Otherwise, and I'm trying to explain this to him. I'm having all these problems and I'm clotting like crazy. When I lose so much blood that I'm weak. I'm tired all the time, and I know I don't want any more children. No, I don't want any more children. Stop telling me. And he keeps, oh, you could have more children. You're still young enough. And I'm like, at this point, I was already like 36. Okay, 36, diabetic, overweight. That already screams to me like, dangerous, dangerous. You can't handle it. Your body will fall apart. And he kept pushing and kept pushing. And then, of course, he, I'm not going to go into detail, but he was from a country where women don't really make these types of decisions. And even though he worked in Europe and in Germany, he clearly was telling me that, what was my husband's opinion on this. And I'm like, if you get a hysterectomy, obviously you're going to discuss it with your spouse. I've been married now 22 years. Obviously, it's something we discuss with each other. Hey, I'm getting a hysterectomy. These are my reasons. And it's not, I just, my husband's not going to be, oh, you can't do this. No, don't do that. My husband's going to support me and say, you're making a wise decision. You're making a wise decision. You're being smart about it. Take care of your things. So there was my another horror story. He ended up signing off on the hysterectomy. I guess, I didn't need permission from my husband after all, after I was very clear on my wishes. And I'm like, I have problems, uh, endometriosis. I'm losing so much blood. You don't know. You don't understand. And they were like my second horror story where I'm just like, dude, my body, my choice. And horror story number three. My, I went to, there was before when I still could go to the military doctor. I guess they had a cute little Japanese man. And I'm like, oh, how cute. He was very cute. Cute. He just very short Japanese man with a very stoic Japanese, the way he moved and stuff and the way he talked. I'm just like, oh, I feel good. It's almost like feeling like Mr. Miyagi is giving me an exam. But while he's down there, he's like, you have nice cervix. Beautiful. And I'm just like, don't want to hear that. This is, I guess he's being friendly. But then once again, I don't know, maybe it's because he was a man, he continues, do you want more children? And that was in my early 30s when we were still thinking, yeah, we could have one more child. And I was like, yes. And then he proceeds to say, no, you do not need any more children. And I'm like, dude, is this a guy thing that guys give you things, like give you checkups, and then guys tell you what you should think and should do? I don't, or is it a doctor thing? Do males feel the same way? Like they go to a urologist and the urologist, oh, you have such nice balls. Would you like to have more children? And the guy's like, yeah, maybe we'll see. Maybe me and my wife have more. No, no, you should not have any more children. It's not good. No. Or like somebody fondles his balls and 1 second. Hello? Yes? I don't know if this happens to males. It seems to be happening a lot to females, that females are not believed, not treated appropriate. And I'm just like, ever since that, I was just like, I'm very wary of going to see a male gynecologist. All my children were delivered by males. I always had male gynecologists in the States. My first daughter was delivered by a male gynecologist. I always also had a male gynecologist uh, all through the pregnancy. My second one, I had a female gynecologist during the pregnancy, but she was delivered by a male. Um, I don't even remember who my gynecologist was with my my youngest kid. I don't know, but she was delivered by a nice, wonderful Indian man. That man was so friendly and made me feel so safe that I would not sit there and be like, "Oh man, all male gynecologists." No, I'm sure there's nice ones, but for some reason in this area here, I have not found a normal one and just a nice one. So those are my gynecologist horror stories.